So there were 2 million ounces of contained gold in this 4 by 1 kilometer area, 10 meters sitting on surface. So we're going to put the first drill holes in there. And that's where we can create huge shareholder value very, very quickly with our first drill holes in this.
So does that mean for the next 2 years, shareholders are sitting waiting around for you to do something or make another decision? Or do you think there's going to be enough catalysts in there, stories in there to get people excited about the potential of what you're doing with the drill bit? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and please leave some comments below. We'll try to get back to absolutely everyone. And for those of you who have not already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, click the notification bell. We speak with Mike Bennett, who is the CEO of Altamira Gold. They're a TSX-V listed gold explorer with assets in Brazil. They've got 3 projects down there. Their flagship project, the Quagerio resource, is something that they're looking to develop out with a JV partner called FMS. So we're building a plant which will allow them to get into early production by the end of 2020, Mike tells us. They will be looking to explore with the drill bit and prove up the scale of the opportunity there. We talked to Mike about a bunch of different topics. Take a look in the description below. If any of those interest you, click on the relevant timestamp. That'll take you to that part of the video. Anyway, let's hear what Mike had to say. Hello, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Well, we're sort of trapped here in the UK, fighting off viruses. What about you?
Yeah, I think the world is in lockdown as well. I'm stuck here in Bolivia and the same thing's happened here.
Okay, well, let's try to ignore those things because life has to go on. So you're going to tell us a little bit about Altamira. Why don't you kick off with a 1-minute summary for people new to the story, and I'll pick it up from there.
Altamira Gold is a company which has a property position in the north of the state of Mato Grosso, which is central western Brazil. We have a large property position there, some 11 projects with 300,000 hectares. And the area is important because historically 10,000 ounces of gold was taken out of the area in alluvial and colluvial fashion by the local miners called garimpeiros, thousands of them, in the late 70s, all of the 80s and the early 90s. And this is what we have used to position ourselves in that belt. We've been working in the area since about 2010. We've been able to pick up important ground where we are showing now that the alluvial gold can be translated to primary gold sources. We have 3 major projects, one of which has a 43101 of 700,000 ounces at a grade of 1.2 grams, that's Quagerio, and 2 other properties, one which is a gold property called hectares, where 1 million ounces of gold was taken out by the garimpeiros, a very important property for the company, and another property in the south of the belt called Santa Elena, which is a gold and copper property, and the importance of the copper is that in 2017, Anglo-American moved into the belt and found the first porphyry copper in the belt. So that's the importance economically of our position.
Okay, thanks for that summary. Now, I want to start off by just trying to understand what you, the management team, are trying to build here, because it's a small company. It's 4 million market cap, but it's kind of got a long and winding history of how you've arrived at this point. So maybe, first of all, could you start with how you've got to where you are today? Because there's a number of different companies involved prior to this, and it would help us sort of understand where you are today.
Okay, sure. Well, first of all, I'm a mining geologist. I spent most of my career here in South America. I've lived both in Bolivia for 23 years and in Brazil for 13 years. And my adrenaline and our team's adrenaline, the management team's adrenaline, is finding mines and creating value to those deposits. So if we look at myself and Alan's history, between the 2 of us, we have probably discovered about 5 million ounces of gold over the last 20 years and have some important projects which went into production both in Bolivia and in Brazil. When we first started in this area, a lot of people didn't believe that there were primary gold sources which could be world-class deposits in the Alta Floresta belt. But we did, And we believe that because of the size of these deposits, because of the size of the workings that the local miners had discovered over the last 25 years. And that's where we started moving into Cajueiro, our flagship property, if you want to call it that, where we now have a resource which was recently published 2 months ago of 700,000 ounces at a grade of 1.2 grams. That, Matt, really is only the point of the iceberg, because we've done only exploration on a property which is almost 30,000 hectares in size. This resource is limited to an area which is 600 hectares in size. And we have huge soil anomalies, gold and soil anomalies around that central area, which I personally believe will take this into a multi.
Yeah, can we step back a bit? I need to understand the history first, because you're selling to me, which is great. That's your job, but I want to understand, the succession of deals which has led to Altamira as we know it today. Because
okay,
if you don't mind.
So I was working for a private company called ECI in 2010. And ECI had properties in both Brazil, which are some of these properties in the Alta Floresta belt. And it also had a property called Inde in Mexico. It was a private company financed largely by Sentient out of Australia. And in 2013, when the downturn was in full swing, they decided to concentrate on this working mine called Inde in Mexico and abandon exploration. So myself and a group of friends put together a private company called Alta Floresta Gold. It's a Brazilian registered company. We bought the key properties from ECI, and we took the company along on our own for about 2 years. When times got a bit more difficult to raise money, we actually put these properties into a company called Crux Resources. And over 2016, 2017, we have rolled the company back. We've changed the name, we've changed the directors, changed the management, and it has become what it is today, Altamira Gold.
Right, okay. Now, how much money have you pumped into the business? As in, how much money have you raised to put into the business?
We've raised about 6 million since it's been a public company. And prior to that, we put in as individual shareholders about $1 million to take the company to the equity stage. And as shareholders ourselves, we have all been participating in the financing since 2017.
Right, okay. So about $7 million to date.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And what was that spent on? Just, you can break that down for me.
It was spent on doing exploration to bring the resource up from just over 400,000 ounces at a low grade of 0.78 to 700,000 ounces at 1.2. It was spent on metallurgical testing. It was spent on drilling. It was spent on, in that particular property, a lot of trenching. And in the other properties that we have in terms of Apicaz and Santa Elena, on early stage exploration and taking the licenses to the stage where we can actually now bring 2 properties into a small mining operation stage.
Right. And how much cash have you got today?
Well, we're just about to complete a financing. We've actually announced partial completion of that financing a couple of weeks ago. We will, over the next couple of days, close that finance.
And what's that number?
It'll be, well, we announced 1.65. It'll be in excess of 1.65 million.
Okay, fine. And the purpose of that is to do what? What's the next thing that's going to happen that people are going to get excited about?
So if we take the triangle of our important projects, so Cajueiro. So Cajueiro is in the stage where we have a resource. And in Brazil, they have a process whereby under exploration licenses, you can do a bulk sample. So you can, for each mining claim, you can take out 50,000 tons of material. We have 4 mining claims over our central area. So we can take out 200,000 tons a year. And so what we've done an internal pre-feasibility study, if you like, on the oxide resource in our internal area, in our central area. And what we are going to do there is we are taking out 4 bulk sampling licenses, 2 of which are almost perfected and 2 more will be perfected over the next couple of months. And we will install there a gravity plant over the first 6 months, shortly to be followed by a CIL, a vat leach plant, which will up, obviously, the recovery over that central area. So that's part of our money. We're not going to use our own money to install a plant. We have a deal signed with a private Brazilian group called FMS, and these people are going to build the plant for us. We're just waiting for the rainy season to calm down here before we actually make the first move there. And we will be producing by the second half of 2020. The deal is very simple with these guys. They invest 2.4 million US. We do all the permitting work, so part of our money is being used for that. And at the beginning, from day one, we get 15% of the production. And from payback of the 2.4 million, we get 50% of the production. So that's a very important stepping stone for Altamira.
What do you mean by production? Are you talking about a gross or a net number?
It will be gross production.
Gross production. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So the outsourced model, so someone else is paying for the CapEx component there for you, and you will, I guess, earn back into your project
net
once
production. Yeah, I got it wrong. Net of expenses. Sorry.
Net of expenses, right? So, and how's that controlled? You've obviously got a contract in place. You know what the numbers are.
As a mining company in Brazil, you can't hand over everything to somebody else. So we will do all the administration. They will be the actual contractors, if you like, who will install the plant and who will mine, and we will be there on top of it with our guys selling the production and dividing up the profits.
Okay, so what are the numbers that you can control and what are the numbers you can't? I mean, does your contract with FMS mean that you know what your fixed costs are, or are there variable components to that? I'm trying to work out, at the end of this, do you know what you think you can make?
Yeah, we think we can make, after payback, we should get about 3 million Canadian a year with 50% of production. So we've done it, it's only an internal estimate, obviously, and what we've done is we've used GRE, who did our 43101, to do this internal estimate. We've taken part of our resource, and obviously we don't want to produce at 1.2 grams per ton when we're doing an oxide, a very shallow cut on our initial production. So we've taken it down to 25 meters. We are looking at the area where there is a much higher grade, and we're looking at the east-west structures in an area called Baldo. And our internal study shows us that we can get a very nice increment in the grade there, and hence we can get a good profit for the first 5 years.
Okay, so what's your model going to be? Because that's still not a lot of money. Okay, the 3 million is not a lot of money. It's better than nothing, but it's not a lot of money. Are you going to say, well, we're just going to spend that 3 million and reinvest it and put it back into the ground to build out the growth story, the growth component here, or are you going to say that's a proof of concept? Look what we've done there, and go and raise more capital. What's the model?
I don't think so I think what we're going to do is the first 2 years, we're going to try and make that a slightly higher number. I'm using conservative number there with 3 million. Mm-hmm. We're going to go for the areas where we know there are higher grades. And so what we're going to try and do there is in the first 2 years, we're going to try and get our full environmental permit on the property to be able to ramp this plant up from 200,000 tons a year to much, much more than that. So what we'd like to do is in 3 years' time, have a plant which is producing plus 3,000 tons a day. And we will then incorporate both the oxide and the sulfide resource. We will do some extra drilling on the outside areas, both east and west of the central area. And we'll build up our resource in the whole project and continue to ramp up the plant.
Okay.
We want to turn this into a proper mining project for the company.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help people watching this get an idea of your timing and the process that you want to go through. And I think you've outlined that, at some point you'll be giving more and more guidance on some of the numbers involved there in terms of what your expectations are, right?
Well, I think obviously, once we've got the plant up and running, the company will be putting out regular press releases on production, and also we'll be informing our shareholders of when we get all the permits. We'll be informing our shareholders of when we start to build the plant. Obviously, it's a simple plant, so it's not difficult to put this thing into production in less than 5 months. And we're getting right now through the rainy season. I mean, coronavirus is not helping us anywhere in the world, but we're way out of a population center there, so we hope we'll be able to continue working at the same pace we are doing right now.
Right, okay. I'm going to make that assumption with all these interviews that the coronavirus will not get in the way. So all things being equal, you're saying the permitting issues, licensing issues are known or resolved, or where's the confidence for that come from?
Yeah, we have the first bulk mass sampling license already published. The second one should be published in the next in the next few days. We've been following that on a daily basis. This is a cascade system where we've had to divide it between two state boundaries. So we only just got the permission about 10 days ago of the division of those claims. And so now we're able to the first two permits will be addressed in Mato Grosso, in the state of Mato Grosso. And the second two permits, which we are going to do subsequently from the end of March onwards, are in Pará. And so once we get the first two permits, we can start investing in the plant. We can start earth moving. We can start laying the concrete. Obviously, that isn't an easy task in the rainy season, and we're getting through the rainy season. By the end of March, we should be able to start doing that work.
And do you think, given again, coming back to the scale of this, do you think you're going to get a production re-rate because you're going to be producing cash flows, or do you think the market's not rewarding that right now?
I think we will. Yes, I think it's very important. The bulk sampling license, it's called a GU here in Brazil, is a very important license for two things. One, it enables the company to test, to get cash flow, to do all the huge metallurgical testing it needs for a bigger plant. And secondly, it helps us to strip an area which in the middle of the area in Cajueiro, there is no outcrop. So in order to see all the mineralized structures, this will help us hugely to showcase the project to other companies. And several of the larger companies here in Brazil have us on their radar screen. It's a very, very accessible area. It has one of the biggest hydroelectric power schemes in the north of Brazil right next to it. We have a power line running right through it. We're 1.5 hours drive from a commercial airport in the town of Alta Floresta. And so, we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're in an area where we can easily produce and easily ramp up this project.
Right. It's been a long time coming. Do you think that you're suffering in the marketplace because it's taking a long time to get to this point? What were the things which were holding you back?
Well, windows of opportunity matter all important. So if you look at Brazil in general, until this new government was suffering hugely from timelines on permits. And ourselves as a junior, and both private and both public junior, we suffered enormously in terms of trying to push through the permits. That's now changed. Mining Office has now become an agency. There are 120-day timelines now on permits, and that has helped us enormously to move this along in the last 6 months. Okay.
And do you think that's caused you to dilute more than you'd wanted to have?
Probably yes. We didn't really want to have to do the financing at this low stage in the market, but it was necessary. We really needed to push this down into the production phase. And if you look at where we're going now, the money we're about to raise should last us into the beginning of next year. And by then, so we anticipate being in production before or by November of this year. And what we should see, if we just look at the 15% part of Altamira, is we should cover all costs of the company from November onwards.
Okay.
So that will help us to not dilute hugely in the future. If we see that some of the other projects that we're working on need more cash flow, we've got two methods. Either we raise more money and hopefully at a much higher price, or else we go down the joint venture road with majors who are looking at the area and trying to find other porphyry deposits, apart from Jacka, which Americans already found.
Right. How much of the company does the management own?
Between myself and the directors, we probably own about 14% of the company.
Okay.
And if we look at the major shareholders, I suppose we hold just over 37% of the company.
Okay. And is that, I mean, for you personally, do you have a sort of is it meaningful for you, the amount that you hold in the company?
It's very meaningful for me. I've put a lot of money into this company. I've invested in it over the last 5 years. I have over 8% of the shares in the company, and none of those shares were granted other than by money put into the company.
Excellent. Okay. So I think it's always indicative of, the management's mindset is, if they believe in this, they will, we've had some people remortgage their houses or whatever. If they believe the project is going to work, they invest. And sometimes we meet and speak to people who don't invest. So I think it's a good question. Sounds like you really are into this. So if I look at your peers I'm going to go South American peers. There's a lot of companies of your size struggling to get cash, sitting on what they think are meaningful assets under the ground. It doesn't always work out, and Brazil's got a sort of track record of not being very helpful to the mining community. You're telling me things have changed, certainly in the permitting side of things. How else are they helping you?
Well, I think first of all, it's important that management has a good feel for the area that it's working in. So I've been living in South America now for 35 years. I have a very, very good feel for how things work here. And I don't have any illusions as how quickly or how slowly things work here. I really can tell you that over the last year, things have changed in Brazil. Environmental permits still take time, but now they actually go through. So 4 or 5 years ago, you could have perhaps said, maybe we won't get anything done. I'll just give you 2 examples, Matt, of why this has affected Altamira Gold. When we set the company up as Alta Floresta Gold as a private company, really we set it up for Cajueiro. And we had a few other projects in the area, but they weren't our key projects. So we always thought we would put Cajueiro into production. It's taken us probably 5 years to get through the different permitting stages. Now we're there. And when we started, we had 2 areas which we claimed through the bidding process here in Brazil, one of which was Apiacás and the other was Santa Helena. Apiacás took 5 years to evaluate. So any normal company who only had one project called Apiacás would be dead. So luckily it was one of our not so important projects at the time. And we eventually got awarded Apiacás in March of last year, March 2019. Santa Helena, we were in a bidding process with 5 other companies. We were looking at it just for a gold play. And when it was evaluated back in 2014, we were evaluated in first position, and Codelco was evaluated in second place. And obviously, Codelco wasn't very happy that a small company like ourselves had won, so they questioned the rating done by the mining office. And eventually, in 2018, we were also awarded Santa Helena. Now, it's turned out that Apiacás is a very important project to us because 1 million ounces of gold, was taken out of a central area in our project, a large project area, but a small area called Mutung, which is 4 kilometers by 1 kilometer. And our initial sampling in that area, we've taken 250 rock samples now. The average grade in this disseminated intrusive body there is about 1.5 grams per ton. So that's completely opened our eyes to the fact that we could have a very large world-size disseminated gold deposit on our hands. So what are we doing? You asked the question, what are we doing with the money we're raising? We're going to go through the process now over the next 2 or 3 months of getting a drill permit for the Apiacaz area. And in the second half of 2020, we'll put the first drill holes into that project area. Right. If, as I believe, it goes down to 50 meters or more, we have a very, very large gold deposit on our hands. So that's one of the reasons that I think Brazil's changed. And also, if we look at Santa Helena, we were lucky enough also to get Santa Helena in 2018. We are 60 kilometers to the southwest of the Jaca porphyry copper deposit in the belt, which Anglo American discovered in 2017. And we have several elements which suggest to us in Santa Helena that we could also have something which could be similar to Jaca. So we have a lot of stockwork, geologically exposed by the local miners. And we have a very large 1.5 kilometer wide copper in soil anomaly there. Excuse me. And what we'll be doing this year is we're actually going through ground geophysics at the moment. We will be opening trenches over that area as soon as the rains stop. And we'll be moving in the first half of this year into a diamond drill program in that area. So they're very, very important projects for an extremely small company. Really, Altamira, in a normal situation, if we hadn't been so persistent, would not have had 3 projects of this quality in a company of our size.
Okay, but now you've got to create value. You've got to show that road, that path to growth. You've got 3 projects. I say with a small company with not a lot of cash, that's a liability for some. So you're telling us you're going to spend 2 years to make sure that your flagship project does deliver. You can increase the grade potential there. You've talked about your model. I get that. So does that mean for the next 2 years, shareholders are sitting waiting around for you to do something or make another decision, or do you think there's going to be enough catalysts in there, stories in there to get people excited about the potential of what you're doing with the drill bit?
I just look at, let's just start with Apiacaz. We haven't got the drill permits yet. We will have them soon. If you just imagine an area which was worked by the Garimpeiros, which is 4 kilometers by 1 kilometer, 1 million ounces of gold was taken out the top 10 meters of saprolitic material from that area. They recovered 50% of the gold. So there were 2 million ounces of contained gold in this 4 by 1 kilometer area, 10 meters sitting on surface. So we're going to put the first drill holes in there. Just do the numbers in your own head and think about if we go down to 50 meters with the same rock type. The rock type is speckled, disseminated pyrite with an altered intrusive. It all looks the same.
Which so just for the layman, that means that's a fairly homogeneous spread. Is that what you're saying?
Very homogeneous. It doesn't look like it's got any high pockets in it. And so if we drill down to 50 meters, we could well have a very large world-class gold deposit on our hands. And that's where we can create huge shareholder value very, very quickly with our first drill holes in this project. Okay,
something to look forward to. Okay. Mike, that's a good first pass of the story, and I do appreciate you spending the time telling that to us. I think to me, my initial reaction is you've got to keep talking to the marketplace, because I like the model. You're getting into production quickly and showing some movement there, but you got to keep delivering. Name of the game, right?
Well, I think we can deliver now, and as I've said to you a couple of times now, this is a window of opportunity. The window of opportunity didn't exist in the 70s, 80s, or 90s because of the garimpeiros. For the first 12 years of the 2000s, there was a very difficult government in power in Brazil, and permits were extremely difficult to get hold of. But because we've been persistent and because we got into the belt early, we've managed to pick up these very, very important projects. And just look at who our neighbors are now. Our neighbors are Anglo-American with 2.5 million hectares in the belt. Our neighbors are Codelco, the big company from Chile, with almost 1 million hectares in the belt. And Nexa Resources, who used to be Votorantim, the Brazilian company, who have about 700,000 hectares in the belt. We're the only junior in the center of the belt. And if you look at the western side of the belt, Meteoric Resources is over there with a project. And all you've got to do is look at their market capital and see where we could go in the next few months.
Yeah, I recognize a few names on the maps on page 8 of your PowerPoint. Some nice names in there and some known to us as well. Well, look, Mike, thanks again for today. Stay in touch. Let us know how you're getting on. Obviously, a few things coming up imminently, which we would be delighted to take a phone call from you to hear about.
Fantastic, Matt. It was great to talk to you, and thank you very much.
Okay,
Stay
cheers.
safe.